New Fever signings, Caitlyn Clark hating tweets emerge. So the Indiana Fever fans are furious with this signing, absolutely furious with the fact the Fever have signed someone who appears to be a Caitlyn Clark hater in Brianna Turner. I don't know how I feel about it personally, and I'm always the type of person, I don't give a damn what a person says as long as they perform on the court and they don't affect the locker room itself. Like, I think genuinely, the locker room, if the locker room is good, it doesn't really matter what somebody does outside as long as they keep it inside locker room. Just like why I had no real issue with some of the stuff in the Lista Smith, I was like, it doesn't seem to be affecting the locker room. But with that, Brianna Turner, Sky fans hate her like there is no word, like there is no player that Sky fans hated more than Brit Turner, who came on a big contract, a genuinely big contract on. And it was like not a good signing. What I do think, had they not drafted both Angel and Camila, she would have played a lot more. But at the same time, like a lot of the tweets and stuff do not look good from Bri Turner. And like she has tweeted, let's be real, she tweeted about the whole do you remember the whole like a harassment by the journalist, or say not by the journalist, by the paparazzi, the Thames person who tried to ask Kennedy Carter a question. And obviously she went and made a way bigger deal about that than it should have been. But at the same time, I'll give her the benefit of the doubt, because some of these WNBA players have probably never had paparazzi around them in their entire lives, so they might think one person kind of getting in someone's face, ask them a question on the street in a public place is harassment. And do I think, like, on a personal level, the people doing paparazzi stuff is right and good? No, but like there's a line, if we're calling that harassment, everything harassment. And then obviously when Caitlyn Clark and Stephanie White and these people came out and basically said at the end of the season, and Kelsey Mitchell and all these people, she was really anti-Fever. I don't think she was necessarily anti-Caitlyn Clark with what she said, but she was anti-Fever. What everyone was saying, like, do not platform the trolls. Do you remember kind of at the end of September when it was that we can't platform the trolls, stop platforming the trolls narrative was coming around? She came in with an opposite one saying, we need to platform the trolls. She came out on Twitter saying we needed to platform the trolls. And when somebody responded that we need the platform to trolls and call it out, and it's the responsibility of everyone to call out all this, and it's like someone responded, was like, that's the worst thing you can do. These aren't people. These are literally just internet trolls that are doing it for attention. And she basically doubled down, was like, no, you're wrong. You need the platform, the trolls. And she did not say that, but like her general, whatever she said effectively could be summarized in platform the trolls. And the one thing for the Auntie Caitlyn Clark that I have a real problem with is this right here. I have a real problem with this tweet. 1 second. So she tweeted this: Iowa will hold a celebration honor the NCAA runner of all players and coaches expected. This is Iowa with the whole celebration. Respectfully, I'm confused. Is this what a runner-up typically does now? Haven't seen this before, but kudos to them for publicly honoring all they accomplished this season. I'm confused. Is this what runner-up does? It does. If you're Iowa, I'm sorry, as it's like when it's a Cinderella run, like you don't have to win in, like, people do not understand. This was a team that went to back-to-back Cinderella runs. They weren't meant to be there. And that's why it's a big thing. Like, for example, if let's just say when the year well, they're not Iowa, is not quite but let's just say Iowa and the men's got the back-to-back championship games, they would honor the team, especially when almost all they are seniors. They would honor the team. Any team would do this for celebration run. And by the way, this is not a parade. This is not this is genuinely, it's not a parade. It's not a going to the White House Joe Biden type thing. It was purely a college wants to celebrate history, greatest team in the history of the college. And she comes out and was like, why are they doing this? Runners up shouldn't be doing this. No one would say this were if it wasn't for Con Clark. You just know that. Again, I am making an assumption. Here I could be wrong. I'm willing to say I'm wrong. That is the one thing where I'm like, that's the one direct thing with Caitlyn Clark. But she has essentially not shown to be necessarily fully anti-Caitlyn Clark, but she was definitely in the group of players that you will say you could brand as saying Auntie Caitlyn Clark stuff. But all I got to say. It's all I got to say. I don't care. I really don't care. She's there playing for the Adelaide Lightning, and if you look at how she plays, she is an athletic big. She is an athletic big who blocks a ton of shots, and that's it. And people are like, oh, she's a power forward. She's not. She ain't playing no power forward in the Fever offense. She's an athletic big. She averages 2.5 steals per game and 3 blocks per game in Australia, which is a decentish level for overseas ball. I know she ran that layup. She doesn't run like Tammy. She's the best defensive player on this Indiana team. She's not going to score many points, but she's going to play 10 minutes a game and play defense. That's what she's there for. That is literally what she's there for. You got Tiss, who will play not a lick of defense, but will be locked down. So be knocked down, not locked down. But now you got defense. And this is why she was signed. I don't care. I mean this. I do not care. I don't care like what she tweets. I don't care as long as she blocks as many shots. She's as good as long as she's as good at blocking shots in the WNBA as she is at blocking people on Twitter. I don't care. I don't think anyone should care because at the end of the day, who cares? She knows what she's getting herself into. And yes, she has said bad things about Caitlyn Clark that we have always said this in the WNBA. Who hasn't for WNBA players, honestly, who has not said what WNBA player has not said a bad thing about Caitlyn Clark or Fever fans in the past. And I mean that who hasn't, you've got to look at it. That way there are so many WNBA players and so many of them have said crap about Caitlyn Clark and the Fever. There are so few WNBA players right now, and yes, in a couple of years when you get young players, and you can definitely get a whole bunch of young players together that haven't said crap by Caitlyn Clark. But for the vets, so many of them have, so many of them have, so it's like you just want to put the best team together. You genuinely all that matters that the Fever put the best team together. Would it be great if every single one of them was ultra-friendly and not said a bad word about Caitlyn Clark with a Fever? Sure. But like at the end of the day, the team needs a defensive-minded center, and a lot of people who are like, oh, the team could get Mercedes Russell, cost of the Sparks 160. You're not getting a borderline all-defensive player big who's coming back into form playing in Australia, like you're not getting an all-defensive level player in their 20s for the near minimum. You're not. So she's exactly what the team needs, for cheap. And she will be playing from game one. Obviously, the Tammy situation, it's not looking like they're going to bring in Tammy because they got like 30 grand left in salary, which means they literally need for the second half of the season, which means they literally need to go and pick up somebody. I don't even know if it's possible for them to get somebody with that 30 grand of salary, but that's basically what they have to do. So with that, you've now got a situation where they've got everything they need. You've got your backup point guard and Colson. You've got your backup wings and Cunningham and Cunningham, Hall and Wallace. You've got your backup Biggs and Tiss and Turner Mal. And you've got players that do everything. You've got your big defensive players. You've got your three-point shooters off the bench. You've got your wing defenders off the bench. You've got your playing point guard off the bench. You've got your stretch big off the bench and Tiss. You've got everything. Like you've literally got everything you need if you're the Indiana Fever. With Bri Turner has tweeted some questionable things about unrealistically about the Fever on Caitlyn Clark's shore. But when you're talking about the WNBA players who hasn't, so I would rather them get a player that fits like as far as playing is concerned, I would rather them get a player that fits than a player than trying to get somebody that isn't nearly as good just because they're hyped. They hyped up Clark one time. So yeah, like I don't think I don't think it's possible to get a better player than Bri Turner for the price you're getting Bri Turner as far as the on-court fit is concerned. And the good thing is that she's an unprotected contract. So if hits the fan preseason or she starts tweeting stuff out and stuff doesn't go well, they can cut her. Don't worry about it. It'll be